ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin. This is my co-host Teddy, and today we have some more AMD Navi news. So it's looking like the Navi 20 GPU is going to support ray tracing. It'll have an enhanced GCN graphics architecture and may end up being faster than the RTX2080 Ti. Which, if you know, the 2080 Ti isn't very good value for money. I don't think anyone would ever say that. But it certainly is powerful, and no one can take that away from it. The 2080 Ti is an absolute beast, but it also comes with a humongous price tag as well. But before we get into that, let's talk about today's sponsor, ekoffers.com. So this is a great website. There's loads of products on there for you to check out. I use it for Windows 10 keys. They're very cheap, so that's good. If you want to pick up Microsoft Office as well, you can use it for that. It's just a really good website. Links will be in the description down below, so check them out. They support me, so help support them. So to this AMD news, I think for a while, I mean, we've all been excited about AMD Navi. I think anyone who's into tech sees that Nvidia's monopoly just needs to be removed. And in the previous video, we talked about Intel GPUs, so I just want to do this one about the AMD GPUs with some of the more information that's been coming out about them. So this is from a WCCF Tech article, and it reads, "Now the details that are mentioned are broken into two parts. One is for the initial AMD Navi cards that utilize the Navi 10 GPU architecture, and the second is for the high-end enthusiast-grade parts that would feature the Navi 20 GPU. So what this is basically saying is that the Navi 10s are going to be aimed more at the entry tier, mid tier, and they're going to be coming out in a few months' time. And then it'll be next year, so 2020, where we'll see the Navi 20 GPU, and that's going to be aimed at the high-end tier, you know, the very powerful, the enthusiast-grade graphics cards. This is what AMD's done previously. I would say that given the release of the Radeon 7 somewhat recently, that kind of makes sense, but I mean, the Radeon 7 just matches the RTX 2080 Ti in most ways in terms of, you know, performance and price and other things. So it's pretty much just an alternative for those that, for whatever reason, are not interested in getting the 2080. They can go and get that one instead. So this is an interesting move. It's probably the best move in the sense of most of you guys out there who are watching this video are probably interested in the middle tier cards. And maybe some of the entry-level stuff as well. The enthusiast market, although the profits there can be very good, the sales are generally not as, you know, they don't sell as many of those GPUs as they do the sort of mid-tier cards. So this does make sense for AMD. It goes on to read, "The details say that before Raja Koduri, AMD's ex-head of Radeon Technologies Group, left the company, one of his major tasks was to fix many of the weaknesses in the GCN architecture. The reason to do this was to let AMD RTG focus on both producing a next-gen architecture while working on GCN iterations to remain competitive against Nvidia GeForce and Quattro lineups. The reason why Vega didn't live up to the hype was that when Raja joined RTG, the design of the Vega GPU was very much completed, and there was little that he could do. The actual goal for Raja was to work on the Navi GPUs, which would still be based on the existing GCN architecture, but further refined through fixes to, let's say, the geometry engine, as reported by Red Gaming Tech. Now, it is possible and very likely that AMD had finished the design for Navi much before Raja left RTG, and he left to go over to Intel." The article also goes on to say that the Navi 20 GPUs will support ray tracing, but it's looking like AMD are going to sort of take it in their own direction. And this is what it's really referring to as far as the performance versus something like the 2080 Ti. It is in ray tracing performance. So it's looking like AMD is going to start taking that more seriously, especially with how all-in Nvidia's pretty much gone on it. I mean, changing the lineup name from GTX to RTX kind of indicates that they're going very much in on ray tracing. Although, as far as what we've seen so far, I guess a lot of us are sort of a bit hesitant about it. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, if these are coming out next year, then there's still a lot of time for ray tracing to develop, you know, more games to come out using it, and for it to get better and better. And with how all-in Nvidia's gone, I guess it makes sense that that AMD is also sort of following them down this path. It also states that Nvidia doesn't seem that interested in rushing to 7 nanometer. They seem pretty, fine with their Turing GPUs right now, and it looks like they're just going to keep developing them further as they're pretty happy with the performance per watt that the Turing GPUs allow for. So it's going to be interesting in that aspect how things go moving forward as well. It also seems like the Navi GPUs will feature variable rate shading, and this is really good. This is also following Nvidia. If you don't know what that is, VRS basically increases rendering performance and quality by applying a varying amount of processing power to different areas of the image. VRS works by varying the number of pixels that can be processed by a single pixel shader operation. And that's just good, it's going to be better, for you guys in terms of what you'll see. It just means better performance and better image quality. The article continues saying, we have also seen various reports which indicate that Navi GPUs would be the underlying graphics architecture of next generation consoles from Sony and Microsoft. So it looks like Navi, whilst being the last GCN based GPU architecture, might end up capturing multiple markets for AMD and be competitive at the same time. So this is really good. Mainly because if it's going to be in the next consoles from Sony, so you assume like the PlayStation 5, and from Microsoft, the new Xbox, if it's the graphics architecture used within those consoles, it means that game developers will be sort of more accustomed to developing games optimized around it, and this will be good for AMD moving forward in terms of their desktop GPUs, the ones that you guys will be using, because a lot of the games that may have already been, maybe come out on the consoles as well, they will be optimized for that graphics architecture. So this will be a good thing, although the information surrounding this is still a little bit up in the air, so take that with a grain of salt. But overall, this is a good thing for AMD as well. So with all that being said, it's looking definitely good for AMD. I would say personally, they're doing the right thing, although I would have liked it if they could bring out something this year that was competitive with Nvidia in the high end, not just the Radeon 7. Something that could really take it to them there, because that's where Nvidia is really milking it the most. But for most of you guys out there, the average user, I would say, AMD bringing something to the like entry level and the mid level cards, that's going to be really good. That's where most of you guys are buying. That's probably where the most sales occur, and it's really where they need to hit Nvidia. This is an area where AMD have also done pretty well in the last few years. Like they've had trouble in the high end, but in the mid tier and the entry level cards, they've been holding their own against Nvidia, to a certain degree. Lately, it's been going a bit more in Nvidia's favor, but it'll be good to come back there. So I think that's really good. But I want to throw it to you guys. What do you think about this latest news? I know it's not a huge amount of new information, but there's still a good bit of, stuff. I'm sorry if I look really, really hot as well. It's just like really hot here today in Taiwan. I have no idea what happened. It's just really hot, and I can't run my air conditioner when I'm filming a video, or else it's going to be too noisy for you guys. So I'm sorry if I look really hot right now. But yeah. So what do you guys think about this? I know we've talked about this so many times now, and we're getting more and more information as the release date comes closer and closer. And I can't wait for it, because I really think that Nvidia does need the competition. As I said in the previous video, we talked about the Intel GPUs. This is an area where Nvidia really, really do need to kick up the backside, because they've just got their market share. It's just huge. They're almost a monopoly at this point, and someone needs to knock them down a peg and make them more competitive. I think it's going to be better for us as the consumers, because more competition means lower prices and better performance. So it's going to be a good thing at the end of the day. But as always, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Now, I thank you guys for watching this video. Please subscribe to Tech Showdown if you haven't already, and like the video. And as always, see you guys next time.